And we're back, everybody. Yeah, let's get it rolling. I don't know if that's how you wanted me to start the show, but it's how I did it. Welcome to That's Good Broncos Talk. Bree Maestas, Will Keys, Zach Seegers, Joey Richards. It's Wednesday, and I think we all woke up to some pretty fantastic news. Josh McDaniels is out as the Raiders head coach. It's about freaking time. How'd you feel about it, guys?
That was not the most fantastic news, Bree. That was the worst news. Keep McDaniels around. That's what we wanted. I wanted him to stay over there as the Raiders head coach because it was a train wreck every step of the way. Guys, it feels like every time I sit there and look at Raiders' past moves, like I could do an entire documentary of their screw-ups, it feels, and it would be way too long. I'd have to make like a sequel of it, just on their draft mistakes. Yeah, I don't know. Like now they're still paying – for those that don't remember, they're still paying John Gruden, and they are paying McDaniels on top of that right now for a team that is lacking a ton of money. So, yeah, hey, not very good.
Yeah, Bree and Joey were famously big fans of the McDaniels hire. Didn't quite work out for them. But I don't know. I think it's a bummer. Not only because he was a bad coach and was kind of he was aiding their dysfunction. And I would have liked him to stick around, but now it seems the Raiders are signaling that they're kind of going for the tank. They've got their backup quarterback. They're clearing house with all their coaches. I think they are, they coming off a disappointing loss to the Lions, losing 26-14. Broncos coming off a very exciting, promising win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Both these teams are 3-5, but while the Broncos look to be, holding on to their pieces, looking to compete moving forward, the Raiders, I think, are probably drafting a quarterback high in the 2024 NFL draft.
It's just amazing to me how he copied the same exact playbook that he used in Denver. He had something like 12 years in between head coaching jobs. And there's this whole Bleacher Report story about he has this Excel spreadsheet called Lessons Learned. And he just repeated every mistake he made. From alienating his players to like shoehorning former Patriots into his scheme and just generally being disliked. It's just complete deja vu. And, who could have warned the Raiders? How could they have known this? How could they have seen this coming? I don't know.
It's funny. Yeah, go ahead, Bree.
I think it goes back to the conversation of whether or not you feel bad for players going to the Raiders, knowing exactly what was going to happen there. Zach, I absolutely hate that you would think that Joey and I were in favor of the decision. We just said that it was possible he had learned a lesson and could have a high ceiling because his play calling is not that bad. But you are actually going to tell me that the Raiders are somehow going to turn their entire organization around now that Josh McDaniels is gone. No, you've got an angry Devontae Adams. You have a Josh Jacobs who's frustrated. And the Raiders have continued to Raider for a very long time. So whether or not Josh McDaniels is the head coach, I really don't think they're going for much, because if you want to say they're a markedly better team without McDaniels as the head coach, I don't know. I think you're fooling yourself. So I think they're still in the pit of hell.
I think the funniest part, Bree, is that the head coach that traded everybody and traded for everybody all the time refused to trade Devontae Adams or Josh Jacobs at the deadline.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
Do you guys do this show without me?
What's going on?
Whoa.
Who the hell is that?
I feel like Dad found us.
Go back to your room.
He said he was going out for cigarettes so long ago.
We were just talking about Josh McDaniels. Perna, did you want to let us know your thoughts on the Raiders and that decision?
Yeah, I just recorded the Josh McDaniels episode. I think it is very odd that Josh McDaniels is the man who has brought Broncos and Raiders fans together. The only man who could unify Broncos and Raiders fans turned out to be Josh McDaniels. It's a good move. It's just, I don't know why they hired him. I just found the clip of when he got hired, in the episode Will and I did, and first thing we said is like, you guys, you shouldn't have done this. Take it from us. This is a bad idea. But
I could have seen it coming.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He talked a lot, and Will brought it up, the like lessons learned article and how he had an Excel spreadsheet and whatnot. But all of his actions over the decade between him getting fired by the Broncos and hired by the Raiders demonstrated that he really hadn't learned anything. He had continued to act the same way. So when he went on the whole PR, look how much I've changed tour, I don't know. I think the Raiders should know better, especially like you look at the whole Colts thing. He's never going to be a head coach ever again. He's had 3 head coaching embarrassments, frankly. He'll probably be an offensive coordinator for the Patriots and do well there. Maybe he'll be Gerard Mayo's offensive coordinator for the next 15 years. But I think even in New England, like he's not going to become their head coach. Gerard Mayo is the golden child now.
Yeah,
big week for Mayo with Will Levis too.
True.
Oh my God.
100
touchdowns.
Oh God. I'm going to throw it out to Will. Go ahead and run it. We got some underdog bets going on.
That's why I came in here, guys.
I've got him watching me. You want to do it?
I didn't send any picks yet because the NFL ones aren't available for me.
We're going to pick for you.
We're going to just make some up.
Yeah, that's probably smart. I think I'm 0-36 on my pick'ems. 0-37.
Averages.
Yeah. I'm the Josh McDaniels of pick'ems. I'm the Hugh Jackson of pick'ems, really.
You didn't even get off to the 6-0 start.
If you see me post pick'ems on Twitter, just do the opposite of mine or figure the 2. I'm going to miss 2 every single pick'em that I do. But if you think you're smarter than me, just sign up over to Underdog Fantasy. Use our code Let's Ride. They'll match your first deposit. I think it's still up to $500. So like I said, what I switched to this week, guys, I said, you know what? Go back to what you know. Check the spreadsheet you made. And it said, play fantasy. Play the battle royales, which $5 entry. Easy. Got that. And then it's a 6-person draft. And then you're drafting against the whole field in that tournament. Okay. So you're not playing against just the 5 other people you're drafting against, which means a lot of players are going to be available to you. And you got to think about which players you can get that are going to beat the entire field, not just the people you're drafting against. So I did that this week. I did a couple of those. I won $20, which was just, it felt good. It felt so nice. Dang, I keep picking. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I'm picking second. And nobody's taking Alvin Kamara first, which is odd to me because he has been a fantasy machine the last couple of weeks. They're going against the Chicago Bears, so I like that matchup. I also like the Saquon Barkley matchup against Las Vegas. So those are my tips. You know, listen to them. Don't listen to them. Just make sure if you're going to sign up, use our code Let's Ride over at Underdog Fantasy.
Let's ride.
We rode.
We rode. We've broken streaks. It's Let's Ride.
I'm going to let you guys get back to it, but I wanted to ask everybody how you're feeling about the Broncos. Do you think they have turned it around?
I think in a general sense, yes. I feel pretty optimistic about the overall outlook right now. And I think there's a good chance 2-3 years from now, even we are circling this Chiefs victory as like, this is when like the Sean Payton era, it got off to that bumpy start and then they beat the Chiefs and it kind of got going from there. I don't think they've turned this season around. I think they will still not be playing meaningful January football. But I think the overall regime has turned itself around. And I think that's probably more important in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I totally agree with Zach there. I mean, is the season going to be turned around? I don't think that I can change my entire outlook on the team after one victory, although it was a very impressive victory. One of the most impressive victories I've seen from the Broncos in the last few years, I want to say. But it was – I can't just all of a sudden just forget that, hey, they beat the Packers. Packers aren't very good. You know, all of these other teams. I can't erase that from my brain just yet. Now, if they come out this next week, Brandon, and they beat the Bills, or actually even look really impressive against the Wolves, I'm not even going to say they have to beat them. Maybe my tone changes a little bit.
Ooh. Ooh.
I think we were trying to discuss throughout the early part of the season whether or not they were going to be able to gel and make this work in any sort of circumstance. So the factor of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson beating the Kansas City Chiefs, ending the streak, ending the narrative, was kind of a signal point for Broncos country on whether or not you could consider Sean Payton's first year as a head coach a success. And I think that just means anything from here is really proof positive of that. And I honestly feel like they're going to continue to get better week after week. If they don't, then we know it was a fluke. And if they do, I think it's pointing in the right direction. I still think some changes need to happen, but I'm glad that it's looking better than it did through the first 5 weeks. Everything started to really ramp up there. The defense is showing their snuff. I'm really impressed by what the defense is able to do. I want to see some apologies to Vance Joseph. I still think that there's some question marks as to why it wasn't done sooner, but I think the idea was a lot of confusion on why they wanted to run something to start the year with, and then realize very sorely that it wasn't what they wanted to do long-term going forward. Give the players a little bit more of responsibility over what they're being asked to do. But I feel optimistic after this Kansas City Chiefs game, and I'm really still upset that Joey got to witness it in person and I didn't. So
Nice.
Yeah, I need to start a GoFundMe. Get me to the Broncos game, guys. All I'm saying is the first game I went to this year. And it's the first game Bree didn't go to this year.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh, we figured it
I
out,
don't know.
ladies and gentlemen. We figured it out.
Bree, so pretty much hand over the tickets. That's what the
yeah, that's okay. I'll invoice you.
Also,
Yeah.
little
What-
note that came out of the Chiefs game. It's no longer Let's Ride. It's Go Broncos. That's his new thing.
Go
Oh,
Broncos.
New
Okay.
marketing. Yeah, little marketing makeover.
Wow, really swinging for the fences with Go Broncos, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder, how much he'd paid a PR team to come up with that one.
I think that's the thing. I think he got the Let's Ride became such a meme. It was like, oh my, I'm gonna have to play. He just went so safe.
Right, because it was Go Hawks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He
Go
did all
Hawks.
the Seahawks ones, was it?
Yeah,
Just
it was
Go Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go back to the basics. You know,
Just
don't
like, let
expose
me go
yourself
back to
to
what
any-
we're-
that would be the perfect time to just double down on Let's Ride. I feel
Yeah,
like.
exactly.
back
That
Yeah.
would have been the best moment to do it.
Oh,
Oh my god.
You want to make fun of me
Yeah.
now? I just beat the Chiefs. Yeah, let's see
Oh.
your hot dog cereal memes now.
Yeah. You know what would have been the best? The best. Oh my god. All right. Into the game. You know how Russell Wilson and the players do the prayer circle, and
Yeah.
it's like both teams come to the prayer circle. If on mic'd up, it was revealed Mahomes is right next to Russell Wilson, and they're all praying, and then under Russell Wilson's breath towards Mahomes' ear, he just goes, "Let's ride, bitch," while they're praying. Oh,
Instead of amen.
yeah. Just let's ride.
Here's a question for you guys. I don't want to come off as a conspiracy theorist or anything, but if Mahomes was the one with the flu, why was he shaking everybody's hand after the game and Travis Kelce was running off to the locker room as soon as the clock hit 0?
Yeah.
That struck me as very weird.
Yeah. Have there been any reports of the Broncos being sick?
I sure hope not.
I
But we
don't
do have the bye week, so they're
We
kind
do
of
get the bye.
spread
Poison
out.
pill situation.
Yeah. One last thing, and then I really am going to leave. But it just came to me in the power rankings, and then we'll finish it off. But one move none of us liked was Draymond Jones going to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And we were writing about the Seahawks. I was like, Draymond really hasn't done a lot for Seattle this year. And so far, like statistically, Zach Allen's actually been better than Draymond Jones. So we beat the Chiefs, and maybe we got one past the Seahawks. Those are two signs that things are turning around for us, guys. It's happening. All right.
No, it's a positive omen. It's part of the reason the Seahawks had to trade for Leonard Williams.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Full circle.
So,
Costing them draft picks. That's basically a draft pick for us back in the Russell Wilson trade, the way I see it.
Yep.
That trade's starting to
All about
even
that
out.
pairing.
It's balanced itself out after that.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
All right. See you guys later.
Okay, bye.
Brony.
All right. Back to the regular scheduled program. The Broncos turned it around. We're doing midseason awards. Guys, I'm going to start off with a kind of fancy one. I want to start off with the best play. I really do, because I think there's some fun ones throughout here. And we'll go through best play, best moment, worst moment, MVP, and then rookie. I'm going to go with the best play. And I'm going to go, I think I got to go with Cooper. I got to go with the scoop and score because it was can't miss, right? 35-yard touchdown. And it really kind of was the momentum that the defense needed to really just sock it home. I'm really excited about that one. I'm going to throw that out there as the best play for me. You guys, if you agree, go ahead and shout that out. But if you have an honorable mention or you want to put yours out there, go ahead and do so. Drop them in the chat. If you're watching, go over to YouTube, search for Let's Talk Broncos or That's Good Broncos. We're live on both channels. We appreciate you tuning in.
I think the one I'd throw out there would be one of these great Cortland Sutton grabs, because I think that's been the most aesthetically pleasing moments of the season. Is just like, oh my God, he's doing 2019 things again. And specifically, because his favorite play, I'll highlight him mossing L'Jarius Sneed, catching the ball like on his helmet and bobbling it, taking it to the ground. Because I think the Chiefs game is the best Broncos win of the season. It was the one I could most fully enjoy, because the Bears win, I was like, oh my God, you idiots, you're such a terrible team and you're ruining this for yourselves. Was but part of what was going through my head, admittedly, when Jonathan Cooper made that play. I had nothing but joy when Cortland Sutton, I mean, textbook mossing of L'Jarius Sneed. That was sweet. I hope this is a sign of things to come for Cortland Sutton. I love 2019 Cortland Sutton, and if that version of him is back, oh, that would be so sweet.
Yeah, I had the same thing as Zach. I had the exact same thing. I went Sutton grab all day. I went with a different one. I went with the one they lost, but after your reasoning, I think I have to go with the one where they won, beat the Chiefs. Do you guys, though, remember, I mean, against the loss in Kansas City, that wasn't that long ago, but just the one-handed catch in the end zone, touchdown play, that was a really good catch. That was my favorite play, but Zach kind of won me over with his argument.
I think I'm going to go. This wasn't the most meaningful play, but I think it was like the coolest, niftiest play. I'm going to go with the Jaleel McLaughlin 22-yard touchdown reception against the Jets on a little screen pass where it's behind him. He tips it to himself and just weaves through the defense. I think that made it like 7-3 or gave us the lead. But I'm going to, when we get to some categories later, I'll talk about Jaleel McLaughlin, but he's just so much fun to watch. And he gives that offense just like this extra gear that no one else has right now. And just such a great find. And like I said, really, really fun to watch so far in his career.
You guys want to know the closest to, though? This is the closest to. The closest to play. If Sean Payton started his tenure with the Broncos with that onside kick, if that works out, that's obviously in clear-cut number one. I wish that happened.
I want to throw out a sleeper one. I don't think it deserves to win, but I could see us, depending on how the rest of the season goes, maybe it wins like play of the year, despite it not winning our favorite play of the midseason. Tremon Smith crushing McCole Hardman on that punt return. I know he already muffed it, but he took him out of that play, and then, goodness, I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember who recovered it.
Drew Sanders.
Thank you. Drew Sanders recovering it. The Broncos were up 14-9, but their offense was totally stagnant. Casey's offense was starting to get some stuff going. They had momentum in that game. Russ Wilson takes a sack to knock the Broncos out of field goal range. They make that punt, and game could have totally changed right then. Could have led to another same old Kansas City Chiefs loss. And that special teams play, I think, could be the moment. Again, maybe week 18 where we're going, that's what changed this Broncos season and the reason they ended it, even if it's not playoffs, but ended it on such a good run and ended the season 8-9, 9-8 instead of 4-13 like we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
I was going to be super predictable. I thought somebody else would pick it for kind of my honorable mention, but honestly, it's probably one of the most exciting for me. Justin Simmons with his fifth career pick against Patrick Mahomes. Not only that, not because it's impressive that he's done it that many times, more than any player in the league, but also the way that you watch Justin Simmons basically ball hawk it, knowing exactly what he's going to do to get that ball was really impressive. And I don't think people consider it was a lot of time. It was in there for a very long time, but Justin knew exactly what he was going to do with his body in order to put himself in front of that ball, regardless of whether or not you believe there's a little bit of pass interference going on there. Justin Simmons is him. I thought that was really exciting, and I hope to see that just very much so in the near future. However, Justin Simmons is still on the team, so it looks like that could be happening next season as well, which I desperately hope so. But I want to cover Rookie of the Year too, because I think we're
really quick. I'm so sorry, Bree. I'm being the worst. Give me the death stare. I think the Hail Mary deserves at least some mention. It's not going to count because they ultimately choked that game, or didn't choke, but they didn't convert the 2-point conversion. But that's reminiscent to me of like Jermaine Kearse's crazy catch in the Super Bowl, where what an insane play. And maybe we're picking it if they just get the next play to happen. But because it was ultimately meaningless, we won't talk about it. But man, like a tipped up Hail Mary, that's normally I don't know, top 10 play of the NFL season by any team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to shout other plays out before I move on?
Sorry, Bree.
You're okay. You want to give your fourth and your fifth best option as well?
My top five. My
top five plays.
There's a 4-yard run that I really liked by Samaje Perine a couple weeks ago.
I thought, Will, you were serious. I was like, gosh, dang it.
Guys, remember when Tua threw that one in?
Yeah.
That's in my top 10.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
No, you're fine.
I want to talk about Rookie of the Year because we were talking about tremendous stories. We're talking about high impact players. Will, give me a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, the first name that popped out to me was Marvin Mims, but then I remembered that he's been on a milk carton for some reason for the last 2 weeks. So I got to go again and talk about Jaleel McLaughlin because he's second on the team in rushing, but he's also averaging 7.1 yards per carry, which is like even in a smaller sample size, like that's really, really impressive. And I know they use him situationally, and he's not, the best back in pass protection or anything like that, but he's a weapon. And he's also like, I thought this was interesting for such a ground and pound identity that they're establishing. They only have one rushing touchdown this season, and it was him. And I think it might go back to the could be wrong, but I thought it was the Commanders game. So one rushing touchdown belongs to the undrafted rookie. He's got 333 yards from scrimmage, and I think we should use more of them, hopefully, going forward.
It's hard to argue. I mean, Jaleel has been such a great player for this offense and undrafted rookie at that. That's what's super impressive about the whole thing. And I mean, I think a lot in training camp, and Zach and Bree, you guys are both there. You can correct me if I'm wrong. For a lot of it, he looked like an exciting player or anything, but everyone was like, hey, we kind of need to see this guy with pads on and hitting. Like, sure, he looks fast and everything, but he wasn't climbing up the depth chart up until the preseason. And it's like, okay, this guy can actually really play. So just seeing him come into the offense and immediately from week one have an established role, taking snaps away from what already looked like a good backfield in Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine is just super impressive. And I think, if a guy goes down in the running back room, like if Perine gets hurt, if Javonte gets hurt, or if it's literally just McLaughlin getting a full workload 1 week, I'm not going to be mad. I might even look forward to, if I get to I would look forward to a game where I get to see 20 Jaleel McLaughlin touches. That would be a fun football game.
He's an absolute blast. Definitely, like, if most fun player to watch was an award, he might run away with that one. I'm a big Jaleel McLaughlin fan. Marvin Mims would be my pick, and I get the usage complaints. I would counter that with he has still played 143 snaps to McLaughlin's 97. So like 50% more snaps. So if usage is the concern, I think, and it's a race between McLaughlin and Mims. I think that can be used against McLaughlin too. It seems to me the only person who can stop Marvin Mims is Sean Payton. He is he's so remarkable. Every time he gets on the field, he's making big plays. I keep talking about his yards per out run, but now the sample size keeps getting bigger, and he keeps staying among the elite receivers. Top 10, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Marvin Mims Jr., A.J. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, and then Tyreek Hill at number 1. Not a bad top 10. You can extend it out to like, I'm not seeing weird names out to until you get to like 27 with Khalil Shakir. I don't know. I think it's a pretty decent stat. And Marvin Mims is in a crop with a bunch of really, really good receivers. I don't know. I want to see if it stays there as the sample size gets bigger. I think it should, now that we're past the trade deadline and they're not going to be trying to ship out Sutton and Judy anymore. Yeah, I think he's an awesome player. And then also the special team stuff. Can't forget that. He's been a game changer on special teams too. And like, I don't know. It reminds me of Eddie Royal in so many ways. You got the number 19 having this really dynamic, vertical rookie season as an offensive player, and then a really dynamic special teams edition as well.
Now, kind of a sucker for stories and narratives and things and adversity. That's why I have to go Jaleel McLaughlin. I think because of his past and because of his upbringing, because of just the story that it took to get here. Then you're undrafted. Like, shouts out, respect to you, Jaleel McLaughlin, for coming in, making a name for yourself, because it's not easy. He could have very well have had it stolen from him at any point during the off season, during training camp. And Joey, as you said, the rotation there with Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine, not to mention the others that are batting down the hatch there in the backfield with Burton snaps. You got to wonder, utilization could be increased for Jaleel McLaughlin, and I think it would be the right move. So until Sean Payton kind of figures out what he wants to do, he says he wants to lean into those younger guys. Then do it, and let's see what they can accomplish. I'd like to see more from Jaleel in that aspect, but I want to move on a little bit here. We're going to go kind of good, bad, like a nice sandwich. I want to go worst moment of the season from you guys. I know a lot are coming to mind right now, but I want to start with probably the earliest one for the Denver Broncos this season, and that's Tim Patrick's injury, just because the idea of it happening felt almost surreal. How could this be happening again? What does it implicate for the Denver Broncos? And it felt like a really terrible omen that almost really predisposed the Denver Broncos for this season. And that honestly was the worst moment for me. Just watching it. I watched the last one. I watched this one, and I couldn't believe it was happening again. Absolute worst moment of the season for me. All the injuries have been, it's never a great thing to happen, but that one felt so early in the season, and just felt so detrimental to what this Broncos team was trying to do.
Yeah, in a like concrete, tangible way, that maybe is the worst moment, because this season probably doesn't like severely damage any other person's career outside of like George Payton. Not even trying to make a joke, just like being real. So I do think that's like a good pick. I think that was because man, Tim Patrick's an amazing human being and a fantastic player. And I mean, it's ridiculous. The back-to-back ACL Achilles, it's going to be hard for him to have an NFL career from here on out. I think that's a good choice. My pick was going to just be, I don't like have a specific moment from it. Like if I have to, I'll say the Dolphins like kneeling to not take the record, because it's like they really should have that record when you look at the history of it all. But they kind of chose not. It was like a mercy killing. Like, I don't know. That whole game like really would be my pick. But if I have to pick one moment, I'd say the end of it when it was cemented just how horrifically embarrassing it was.
Yeah, I think that's 70 points. That's like kind of all I really had to say. Hey, 70 points. That's crazy. That was nuts. It was a terrible game. I mean, by halftime, it was one of those games where it was like, wow, the Broncos are really bad. And that was my thoughts in the first 5 minutes. And then towards the second half, I'm kind of on my phone, just laughing at the situation. I'm numb to it. It was that bad. I mean, it was probably the worst one, but I have to give shouts to Nathaniel Hackett, man. Hey, that was terrible to me. That was the worst thing possible, mostly because you had to turn on the TV and then listen to it. Well, Sean Payton had to eat his words, man. That was the worst thing ever. And you had to have a bunch of people pretending like Hackett actually is like a really good coach or something like that. And it wasn't his fault what happened with the Broncos. So, yeah, Hackett for me. But I can definitely see the Dolphins. I think those are pretty. Those ones are neck and neck as like terrible moments this season. That is just like unbelievable.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with Hackett for the 70 points game. I mean, like you said, it's like there's not a huge difference to me. Once you get past 60, it's like, all right, whatever. This is just funny.
It's the same
And
thing.
I was watching the game at a certain point. I was like, we're gonna get a ton of views out of this. And if you want to lose in horrific fashion, like let's just go all the way. And it was weird because it was the worst day of my life, but it was also the best day of my life because we gave up 70 points and we also got 1 million views in a video for the first time. So
And as we always say on Let's Talk Broncos, it's all about the content, man.
Yes. And if they had lost like 35-20, it's like, who cares? No one's clicking on that. We gave up 70. Great job, Vance. Great job for turning it around too. I got to go with Nathaniel Hackett just because of, like Joey said, he hasn't been good. I know he's got Zach Wilson, so that's not helping. But the revisionist history that he's a victim in this situation. I don't think he's clearly not a bad person. Like I still regard Josh McDaniels as the worst head coach of my lifetime, just because of how toxic he was, now how much of a snake he was. And Hackett was just bad at his job, and that's okay. It's fine to be bad at your job. But I feel like the media was just gaslighting all of us about Hackett was dragged down by external forces around him, and not that he was stupid enough to kick a 64-yard field goal in week 1 and many, many other mistakes. That was too much to handle for me. That was the worst moment by far.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He was almost outperformed on offense by Tommy DeVito. Like this past week, he's I think we can see that he is very poor at his job.
They'll figure it out sooner or later.
I think unanimously we're all going to choose the best moment as the streak ending. Maybe, may not, but I want to throw in an honorable mention. The first time Javonte Williams got tackled when he took the field again was a sigh of relief to know that he wasn't, I don't know, made of glass. It's a weird kind of hesitation you have. You see it with people you care about all the time. You don't want them to get hurt. And this was really important. How is he going to handle a tackle? And it went swimmingly. That was a really great moment, I think, for all of Broncos country.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's a great moment. I think, the streak ending is still going to be my pick, as great as everything else has been. That's awesome. And you end the streak and then they play Taylor Swift music as the Chiefs run off the field. Like I'm glad that the Broncos can be petty again now. Like, I'm sorry. It's kind of shameful to lose. It's shameful to lose 16 times in a row to any opponent, and to have that hang over your head for almost a decade. It's very difficult to do, frankly, to lose 16 times in a row to the same opponent. And so Broncos fans have just had no opportunity to talk any amount of shit in this rivalry since 2015. Like you can't make any jokes because it could all be tenfold back at the Broncos. That was the first joke Broncos fans got to make at the expense of the Chiefs in a long time. So,
you said it just there, Zach. It's a rivalry again. At least in my eyes, it gets to reset the entirety of the clock. Hey, Joey, you just rolled your eyes.
Frank Clark got to see it.
I don't know. Is it a rivalry now? What is our opinion on that? Is it a rivalry now?
I think you need a little more, but a little more turning of the tide. But the embarrassment is stopped. If the Chiefs just start another streak, then people will be saying 19 out of the last 20 times or whatever. But we need to think this is a turning of the tide. I'm with Bree. This is the rivalry reopening.
We need to do, how people are doing lists of big things that have happened in the world since the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs. We just need to start that for the last time the Chiefs beat the Broncos. I know it was 3 weeks ago, but we all need to just really dig into USA Today and pick out 10 big things that have happened in the world since then and just keep harping on that.
That's hilarious. I
Joe
love
Biden was in office last time the Chiefs beat the Broncos. He's still in office, but he was younger back then too.
It's the best idea I've ever heard.
I haven't had
love
an
that.
Italian sub since the Chiefs last beat the Broncos.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, I love it. That's amazing. Any other honorable mentions for best moment this season?
Nah, I just
No.
think that one's so far out of the other one's league.
It's
like,
just unanimous.
yeah.
It puts smiles back on all of our faces. I just want to point that out. It's kind of nice to
Yeah.
log into the show every day and then feel like, I don't know, it's a brand new day. We'll go to MVP, and that'll be our last one for tonight. And I'm going to throw out a weird one here just because I really wanted to see this happen. When Thunder was out of action for the Denver Broncos, somebody needed to run across the field for the home game, and Miles the mascot stepped up. Honestly, it was the only answer that you could possibly have there. And I was so happy when they announced it. It also brought me just so much joy to see him actually ride across the field and lead the celebration brigade. So I'm going to throw that out there as my MVP for this Broncos season. I think everyone else takes second place.
Understandable.
It's a fun pick. I think I'm going to go. It was tough. I think Patrick Surtain's the best player, and I do think he's had a good season. I don't know. I guess it was tough for me because just the secondary as a whole. I don't know. Unfortunately, like I don't know. I just didn't go with Patrick Surtain. I think you can make arguments for it, and I won't push back. I went with Garrett Bowles as my MVP. I kind of didn't want to do it because it felt so weird. I think it'd be between him and Javonte Williams for me. Up until these last 2 weeks, the Broncos were 1-5, and so I think being a little recency or leaning on recency bias is okay. And in these 2 wins, they were powered by the run game. And I think the run game is what it is this season because of the offensive line. I think Garrett Bowles has been the best offensive lineman. And it's not just in the run game. In the run game, he is elite. He is top 10 in PFFs. There's not great run blocking metrics out there, but top 10 in PFFs, power run blocking grade, top 10 in their zone run blocking grade as well. In terms of run block win rate, he's top 10 among tackles in the league. So he's playing at an elite level there. And then against the pass, again, not great metrics, but in terms of pass block efficiency, which is looking at, how many pressures, sacks, hits are you giving up? He's top 15 in the league. In terms of pass blocking grade, he's top 10 in the league. I think he's 7th. So he's playing at a very high level. Yeah, I don't know. I also just need to eat some crow here because we did a show before the season where it was like, what could go wrong? We talked about the defensive line issues being one thing. We were right there. One thing I brought up was Garrett Bowles coming off a broken leg. Like they should not be expecting him. They should not be relying on him as heavily as this team is. And he's maybe having his best season ever. He's been terrific. He's my pick.
Yeah. Shout out Zach Strief, I think, for what he's done coming in as a first year. Is he a first time offensive line coach or is it just
he's a first time offensive line. He was an assistant offensive line coach before this, but this is his first full-time gig. Yeah.
He's doing a good job.
He's doing a really good job. And that's not even mentioning, we see some Cushenberry comments in the chat. That's that's a huge improvement from him. Like the offensive line as a whole has gotten a ton better. So Strief, definitely a huge shout out. My MVP though, I still have to go with Patrick Surtain. He's still the best football player on this team, Zach. Garrett Bowles has having a great season. And I understand what you're talking about with, hey, but the secondary hasn't been that great. My counter to that would be, imagine if Surtain wasn't out there. It would be really, really, really bad. It would be like the worst ever. If we had we have Moreau starting over Damari Mathis right now. If it was Moreau and Damari Mathis, it would be rough. So I'm going to go Patrick Surtain all day. I'm thinking, it's just the easy lock for me for MVP.
I'm going to go with, and Zach mentioned him earlier, but Cortland Sutton. Just because he's the leading receiver, but he's only got 33 receptions, 380 yards. But he's been so huge in the red zone. Like he's already got 6 touchdowns this year, which I think was his career high back in 2019. In that great season. I think he's lost a little bit of explosiveness following multiple injuries, but I feel like he's just gotten he's crafty now. He's
Yeah.
kind of a crafty veteran. He gets open. I think he's the best receiver on the team in terms of broken plays and scramble drills. And he's just got a good connection with Russell Wilson right now. And like we saw against the Chiefs, like if you throw up a 50-50 ball to him, it's more like an 80-20 ball. Like he's going to find a way to come down with it or draw pass interference, which honestly was a huge play against Kansas City last week. Pass interference against L'Jarius Sneed.
Will, I love how you brought up that he's craftier because I think that's exactly it. He's had to learn how to play a little bit differently after those injuries. And what's being asked of him is a lot different. So I like that he's had to mature and grow into that position. And honestly, being a top touchdown scorer in the NFL through the first 5 weeks, I think it was, just really showcase how not only were the Broncos using him correctly, but I think that it just goes to show that he is that dude. He should be targeted more, and he should continue to carry this team because he is the best wide receiver presently on the Denver Broncos. Anybody else have any MVPs, best moments, anything else for midseason awards here from Let's Talk Good Broncos?
No, I don't have any. I don't think I have. I think those are the main ones. I mean, I kind of shouted out Lloyd Cushenberry earlier just because, hey, if we're going to shout out an offensive lineman, I think Lloyd has been up there with Bulls, honestly, this year, which is a crazy, crazy turnaround. So I think that might be the last one. I don't know who else I would give it to.
Yeah, I think he's been great thinking about other, breakout players. Like Benito's been awesome this year. I don't think he's been quite an MVP, but Justin Simmons, I thought of for a second because when he was off the field, you saw that a bad defense take a big step back, and him coming back has helped them kind of find their footing. I will say, keep an eye on Baron Browning. Obviously, he's not going to win anything here because he's only played 2 games, but he is playing like a man possessed. He's been awesome these past 2 weeks, both in terms of the tape and the numbers. I think at season's end, man, we could feel really good about this edge rushing room. That's something I'm excited about.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what category he would be eligible for. Maybe Lord and Savior of the defense. I think Baron Browning would fit, but you can just see, even if he's not he didn't have any sacks against Green Bay, but he was just affecting the game. And then finally, he does get to the quarterback against Kansas City a couple of times, and it completely changes the outlook of that game. And it's changed the outlook of the defense too, to be honest. He's way more valuable, I think, than we realized.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, that'll do it for us from Let's Talk Broncos from That's Good Broncos. We'll be back next Wednesday, but also if you'd like to support us, you like what we do, go on over to Let's Talk Broncos if you're watching on the other stream. If you'd like to subscribe, if you'd like to follow, give us a like on the video. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you next week.